Hi everybody, welcome to Talking Automotive with Mark and John. My name is John Sinclair and my co-host Mark Palavestra.
Hi John, today we've got the Managing Director of the Innovation Group, Drew Schneeger. Drew covers off how fleet customers can save time and money and be more efficient in their accident claim processes.
Yeah, to me it was amazing the amount of services they cover. A one-stop shop that does everything for you so that as a fleet manager you can sit back and relax and know everything's going to be covered in an inexpensive, efficient manner. So a great listen. So let's jump into it.
With 30 years' experience in auto logistics and state-of-the-art locations in 5 major Australian cities, Precar Fleet Services is an independent division of Precar Services, offering specialty fleet fit-outs for commercial applications ranging from simple tray and tow bar fitments to fully bespoke service body and accessory installation. With quality-assured safety, compliance and standardisation of vehicle builds, Precar Fleet Services are a premier all-in-one solutions provider for commercial vehicle fleet operators, leasing companies, and original equipment manufacturers. For further information on how Precar Fleet Services can assist in solving your commercial vehicle fit-out needs, please visit precar.com.au and click on the link to Fleet Services.
Morning, Drew. Welcome to the show. Great to have you on. We appreciate you speaking to us this morning. Can you maybe just kick things off, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you fit in the industry?
Good morning, and thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, a little bit about me. So I am from South Africa, 32 years in the industry, across mainly sort of like the insurance, which I started my career. I think everybody says you fall into insurance, so I did. So I started obviously at a young age, leaving school. And then my first third-party administrator that I joined, I was actually at the age of 30. And soon after that, I became a director. I then moved on to join an underwriting agency that was specializing in niche insurance product. And they approached me to develop a product for them. And in 2008, I got the opportunity to actually start my own business. It was called Aquarius Underwriting Managers, and it was to grow a high net worth portfolio in the South African market. And it was the first of its kind. We didn't have anything like that. So I have a very strong focus on building and strengthening relationships, both internal and external. People, as you know, I feed off people. They give me my energy, quite an extrovert in terms of that. So I think that was probably one of the most powerful and enriching life experiences for me is to step into that business. Obviously, leading the teams, managing and growing that business from ground up. That was quite hard. Creating the products, and one of my passions was creating new technologies. So I've always had a keen interest in innovating. So part of me is I am a creator and an innovator. So I was one of the first underwriting agencies that had a rating model. So I always called it, because it was Aquarius Underwriting Managers, I always called it it's the age of Aquarius. And then after 7 years, we sold the business to Hollard, which is also obviously in South Africa. And then I moved on to help them develop some of their products. And then I was headhunted through Innovation Group in South Africa to join them. I spent 2 years at Innovation Group in South Africa, and I was a commercial director, and we were dealing with OEMs, mainly on service plan and warranty business. We had a big fleet portfolio, which was a government fleet portfolio. And then we have insurance business. So after 2 years, my then CEO offered me the opportunity to move to Australia to become the manager director here. And I obviously grabbed it with both hands because I just saw it as an opportunity for my family as well. So my husband and my 2 teenage girls, we moved in July 2019. We moved over and we basically relocated from Johannesburg to Melbourne in Australia. And I think we just started settling in and starting to find our feet. And then obviously COVID hit, which made it very difficult for us to because we were quite isolated and alone. So as a family unit, we became quite strong, being together with each other. But my biggest challenge was obviously, how do I find my feet in this market? So I engaged a mentor, which used to be part of this business. He was part of the old SurePlan days. And I just said to him, tell me about Innovation Group. Tell me where we came from. Tell me, what you think and where do you think we need to go? And tell me about my clients that I currently have. And how do I get into this market? Give me some introductions. Through a couple of conversations, it's all about building that trust. I think after he had a couple of conversations and he realized what I'm all about, and he started introducing me to his network. And through that, I started learning, a lot more about the industry and my client base. And obviously through that, I had to sort of build the trust of my teams and my employees. And I always believe, you need to surround you with people, that can support you and build you up. You're only as strong as what your team is. Through that, just engaging our clients in the beginning was very difficult because we did have quite a bit of a drop in service levels. We were going through a lot of pain during that time. Yet it was before my time. We lost some business as well. So I had quite a big task ahead of me to pick this business up and reestablish it back into the market. And again, that goes to, the trust and the credibility and the partnerships and relationships. Through my conversations with clients, it became evident to them, obviously, what I'm trying to achieve and what I want to do with this business and where we want to go with the business and what we want to do for them. We started putting a client experience, a team together that just started looking at our clients and starting to understand exactly, what have we been doing for them? What do they don't like? I had a lot of honest conversations. A lot of people told me, how some of the things we've done in the past were not good. And I took that all on and I sat down with my teams. And I think COVID was helpful in that sense because we could sort of like look a lot, very internally focused in terms of how we were doing things. And so we did a whole business review in terms of our business model. We looked at our technology platforms, obviously. I think COVID obviously highlighted that because technology is just at the forefront for everybody. And how do we make it better and easier for specifically our fleet clients, because fleet is a very big part of our portfolio. And then we started looking at, after we've completed that, I started looking at how do we get our presence up in the market. One of the things is, having this conversation today with you is how do we increase our presence and our visibility, in the market, and how do we create more awareness? So our social media, especially on LinkedIn and Facebook, because, we create a lot of content. We attended the AFMA conference where we were a sponsor and we were a sponsor of the Safety Award. And through that, I think our existing clients and our prospective new clients could see that we are out there and we are vocal and we are, we're having conversations and there's a new buzz. I can feel it and I'm getting the feedback from our clients to say, you guys have done a great job. And since you've come on board, we've got such a better experience and a better service delivery from Innovation Group. I mean, I sat on a conversation yesterday with a client and they just said, 2 years ago, we were looking at walking away. Today, all we can say is you are best of class. And the word best of class was really good to hear because I always strive to be the best in what I do. And I think that's why I've, been successful in terms of what I've tackled in my career.
Right. So that's a pretty impressive backstory, Drew, as far as the achievements from starting and as I said, falling into the insurance business and having achieved so much in such a short amount of time. That's very impressive. Yes. Now, I'm keen to get an understanding of the Innovation Group and what the business actually does.
So maybe just give you an overview of the group and global. So we are a global company. Our head office is in the UK. We have offices in Chicago in the US, in Germany and South Africa as well. And I think predominantly we're a third-party administrator. So we provide accident and claims management services. Globally, we also do property claims services and we do service plan and warranty. We actually provide the products as well as the administration. And we do that for the vehicle manufacturers and the dealers. We engage, various large insurers. Locally, we deal a lot with Zurich and Allianz, and we had good relationship with Suncorp in terms of fleet management companies and direct fleets. And obviously the vehicle manufacturers, our biggest client globally is Toyota. We locally deal also with Toyota. In Australia, we handle about 15,000 claims per annum. And our biggest focus is obviously to make sure that it's cost effective and efficient, underpinning obviously, with the service delivery that goes hand in hand with that. And we save millions of dollars for our clients and we actually showcase that, especially when it comes up to renewal. We'll take a snapshot of, the relationship, how long we've been, servicing that client, incident and how much money we've saved them, because we save them money across various aspects of the service that we deliver. So we save them money in terms of the repair cost, because we have a repair network and we've got technical assessors that play a role in that. We save them cost in terms of the turnaround, because obviously the quicker we get that vehicle in and out of the shop, it saves on their operating cost. We save their money in terms of money that we recover back. So every time there's an incident that happens, there's a person that could be at fault that caused that incident. So especially for self-insured fleets, that's important. So the money that come back into their fold is big. And then we also save money for them on third parties that are not at fault, to keep them away from the typical credit hire companies that could, charge, huge cost. I was chatting to an insurer about 3 weeks ago, and they were telling me just in their world, the credit hire cost for 1 year was sitting at $50 million. I mean, that's a huge amount of money. All of those things at the end of the day, count towards the overall cost saving that we're trying to achieve through our processes and our service delivery, and obviously the speed of how we do it. And then how we give it, how we give the information back to them. It's important for them to be able to have the visibility of what we do and how we do it and how we deliver it. So the services in the fleet industry specifically, because we have two portfolios, like I mentioned, the one is sitting in the insurance industry and another one is sitting in the fleet industry. So we know it's really important for a fleet that they need to keep their fleet moving efficiently. For fleet operators, we provide an accident and claims management service that actually includes the accident repair management process. It includes the actual motor technical assessing services. We have risk mitigation services. We also have claims recovery and settlements, which is the third parties that are at fault and the recoveries at fault. And through that, we obviously identify, like I explained, how we can achieve, better cost savings, how we can streamline the processes, not just with ourselves, but how we engage, our customers and how we work with each other. We've recently started looking at how do we create a one-stop shop. We're actually launching that with one of our corporate clients at the moment. So the one-stop shop happened because through our discussions through my client experience team, we realized that a fleet driver could have several numbers, and they usually have a little windscreen sticker, or they have a little brochure, a pamphlet, and then they have to look at, so now who do I need to phone to replace my windscreen? Or I need to get a tire replaced, or I'm stuck next to the road and I have an emergency, or I need an accident tow, or I just need a normal tow, or I've actually had an accident. And then they need to phone these different numbers, all these toll-free numbers or 1-800 numbers. And usually what happens is the depot manager needs to get involved, or the fleet manager, or the branch manager. And that makes it hugely inefficient for the fleet company, because within their own world, it becomes really complex because they need to manage this driver all the time. We've put a process in place, and we obviously work with certain service providers to help us deliver that. And we actually triage the calls when the driver comes through, and we immediately direct them to the right provider, because we obviously deal with various suppliers out of the market that can provide towing, tire, windscreen, accident, and it's not just accident repair, it's actually any repair, because in the end, if there's a scratch or an incident, what would the fleet manager know, what do they do with it? Because they only report accidents to us. So what do I do with those little things that have just had a scratch? Or and we're sitting with this repair network. So we realize that we can actually provide a wider service than what we're just doing today for fleet companies. And that's how that all developed. So we're busy launching that. But I think the three components of our service that's really important is the service delivery. And it's taking control of that driver from day one, because usually that driver's got no idea what they're supposed to do, because that's probably their first accident. So what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to do this? Where am I supposed to take the vehicle? Got no idea. So what we do is we take control of the driver, and we have, we've built our technology over 20 years, and it was built around fleet. We've got a very in-depth understanding of how, it needs to happen and how it needs to operate. And then the second part of those three components is the cost savings, which is our repair network. Our repair network is our golden egg. And we've had relationships with our repairers, the independents. They own their own shops. They're very reliant on the business that they get from us. That is their bread and butter. So they've been working with us for 15 years, and we have a network manager. And that network manager and our repair management team work very closely with our repairers to make sure that we get the cost-saving outcomes through the quality as well. I think the quality and the turnaround. And we need to make sure that we can actually repair any type of vehicle. So we have heavy trucks, we have panel vans. The latest that we're doing now is EDVs. We have farm equipment that we involved in. We actually do prestige vehicles as well for an insurance portfolio. We do boats, trailers, caravans. So we have all sorts of types of vehicles. So we need to be able to make sure that our shops can cater for any repair, that their equipment is up to standard. So we have a very close relationship, but it's a global relationship with PPG. So we make sure that we align with PPG and their shops, and obviously facilitate to make sure that we can get PPG into our independent shops as well. Because it's just, again, it's around the quality of the paint and making sure that, when we repair a vehicle, there's not going to be any comebacks. And our repair shops provide a lifetime guarantee. And there's specific arrangements we have in place with them as well. So they support us, and they know when one of our clients' vehicles come in that it needs to get priority. And they also build relationships with our clients. So it's not, it's important for us that we work together as partners. And I always say that because a lot of the time companies look at us as a third-party administrator. They look at us as a supplier. And my conversations have turned very much to say, we're not a supplier, we're your partner. And we can actually work in the back end and support you as if we are you. So, we can operate as X company. We don't have to operate as Innovation Group. So we can pretty much facilitate that so people can feel, that they have a seamless experience.
Drew, you blew me away. I'm sitting just going, oh my God, that is such a very complicated business that you are just right across everything there.
I am. I am. Yeah,
Wow.
No, I'm pretty much, I'm a hands-on leader. So I like to get, stuck into the throes of things so that I can really understand what this business is all about. But it takes time because it is a complicated business. You're right. It's very complicated.
Oh my God. When you were just going through starting with the customer and then you were doing your repair network, but then what you do for your clients, the offer, the solution that you have is incredible because the problem you're solving is take control of the driver for the fleet customer.
Yes,
so there is no issue for them to, well, who do I call? I know exactly what you've just described it perfectly, the problem. Oh, this is the number for windscreens. This is the number if there's an if the internal person to speak to. If it's something else roadside, ring roadside, and it's just so confusing. So
it is.
That's phenomenal.
It is. And fleet managers, they don't have somebody to solve it for them. And then with my conversations, because I actually, like I said, in terms of the business as well, I like to go down to granular level. So I actually went and I sat with fleet managers in their offices before COVID. And I asked them questions, about, what do you find frustrating about this whole process on your side, not just on our side. So it was interesting to hear from them what they were struggling with. And it was just the basic things, it's just managing and coordinating all of that in their world, because we were rolling out a new process on quoting through COVID to make sure that we don't have to take the vehicles to the shops. So we were trying to get the images, and we actually launched a live video capture tool. Through that, we said to the depot manager, you actually go on your phone and you activate the tool, and then our repairer or our assessor will talk to you through the live video, and they'll tell you to walk around the vehicle, and then we'll capture the damage with the images on the tool. And then through that, the repairer can start quoting, and we can then do the quote and the assessment. And then the moment we came out of lockdown and the repairers could start open their shops again, then they were ready just to take the vehicle in and order the parts. We actually think very creatively of how we could do that. That worked really well. So we actually did that with drivers at their homes. And then sometimes the depot manager would say, but no, I can't do this because I can't have all these vehicles standing in my depot because I don't have space for them. So then we had to, think creatively of how can we do it, differently and support them. I believe with anything in terms of my business, you have to listen to people and obviously communicate, and when you listen, you need to just pick up those three things that is, that's important to them and try and solve it.
So Drew, who are your target customers? Who do you target? You mentioned the fleets and FMOs. So which sort of sectors are you targeting?
We currently provide accident management to 4 of the top 10 fleet management companies in Australia and their fleet clients. We also deal with a direct corporate fleets, and we manage the accidents for companies in the Australian market across quite a broad spectrum of industry, which is why I explained to you why we need to be able to cater for any type of vehicle. So the industries that we currently manage is tourism. We've got postal service companies, courier, supermarkets, rental companies, construction companies. We've got vehicle manufacturers that we deal with. We have novated fleets. We also assist underwriting agencies and insurers, like I mentioned, brokers with their claims management on their commercial and fleet clients. We very much play in self-insured corporate fleets. So we do everything for them end to end. But we also do, if we talk about the FMOs, a lot of the fleet clients, when it's under their excess, they try and manage it themselves. And they really struggle to do that when it's under the excess. So we play in that space. And then when it goes over the excess, we then engage the insurer and we hand over, the documentation to them. And then some of our clients actually expect us to be the conduit. So they want us to manage that whole process between the insurer and themselves. They don't want to speak to the insurer because they just find it extremely frustrating, because you can sit and hold on, to speak to somebody at an insurance company for like 45 minutes. So sometimes my agents have to sit and do that. But we build relationships with our insurers. So our insurers know, my agents know already who to speak to. So because of those relationships, they are able to help improve that process.
And Drew, what data do you provide? Because you're doing so much in this area, so I'm guessing your customers would have a hunger for data to show the savings and the other efficiencies that you provide. So what would be some of the measurements or metrics that you'd be using?
We've built out our solution on the Tableau platform, and we spent a lot over the last 24 months because I believe that the data is king. We collect so much of it. And because our platform being developed over so many years, we can capture anything. And I think the big thing for a fleet manager is obviously that whole turnaround piece. So, how long did it take from when it got reported to us to when the quote was generated, to when it was assessed, to when it was authorized, to when they started the repair, through the repair, and when, at the end of the repair. So that whole repair management, repair progression piece is very important. Our next piece of development in our technology is to do an integration with a body shop platform. So we've done some work to have a look at our repair network, and 60% of our repairers use one specific body shop platform. So we've already had discussions, and we're busy talking to them to do an integration into that. So at the moment, I've got an entire repair management team that actually sit and capture that. We also have a repair portal, so the repairers can come in and capture it. But I feel so sorry for the repairers because they have to work on so many platforms. They have to work on this insurance platform and that insurance platform, and then they work on our platform. So, they have to have admin people in their offices, capturing all of this information, which becomes really painful. So the way to go is to do the integration where you can just automate and upload the information into our platform so we can actually provide that in the data. We actually have, it's a web solution. So our clients, so the FMO, if the FMO is involved, and the fleet client, each of them get their own login so they can, have visibility of the information from a sort of like a group level. Then you can go down onto a granular level. So you can start drilling down in by depot, by branch, by driver, by vehicle, make, model, anything that they want to see. And we also provide the data through extract, depending on the client, depending on their technology and how they want to receive it. The ideal solution would obviously be for us just to have an integration if they want. So we've had some discussions with some of the clients where they want integration. We just actually send them an automated file and it gets uploaded into their platform so they can then have an overall view of their cost. So they pull in the cost of these incidents into their costing so they can have an overall view in terms of what is costing them on their fleet. We actually do monthly reporting as well, which is really, really, really key for us. And we touch our top clients on a monthly basis where we sit down with them and we talk through all the various aspects of the accidents that have happened in their portfolio. So the different metrics that we report on is we obviously look at volumes and we'll show them like a 12-month view of how their volumes are tracking. And it's been very interesting, obviously, over COVID to see how the volumes have come up and down. especially with the lockdowns. So the lockdowns have had a huge impact in terms of that. But then interesting, the volumes have obviously really increased on courier companies because all they've been doing has been online deliveries for everybody that's sitting at home. And then we've seen obviously that the tourism companies, their volumes have gone down, and the rental companies have really been struggling during COVID. So the volumes are important, just so they can see, where they've got their peaks, because they've got, it's all seasonal as well in terms of the peaks. And it's quite evident when you look at the different, and each portfolio is different. So we've had conversations with clients where they're asking us now, can you do some benchmarking for us? And we were like, yes, we can. We can actually show you similar industries that you operate in and how their portfolios are performing versus your portfolio. And then the more you start giving people, the more excited they actually get, because they can actually see what is happening on their incidents. I'll never forget my engagement with one fleet manager that we just started with. And he said to me, I never knew what was happening in terms of my cost on my accidents until you started showing me on your Tableau reporting of what's happening. And I couldn't believe it. And it was just because some of them were still operating on the Excel spreadsheets, and they couldn't capture all the information. Through what we do, we can provide all of that information to them. And it's just so valuable for them. I think the big thing is obviously the driver inattention and the descriptions around that of why drivers are causing accidents. So we spend a lot of time around that to discuss it. And what do you do about that? So what do you do about these drivers, with the inattention, and how do you get them to not cause these incidents? Fleet companies struggle with that. So, a lot of them have brought telematics in. Driver behavior can come through the telematics, but we've got a risk management product, which is called Mentor. We partnered with eDriving, which is a global company, and they've given us the exclusive reseller agreement to resell in Australia and New Zealand. And we launched that in March of this year. And it's just because when we show them this information and they're struggling to manage their drivers and their risks, they look at us to say, you've given up all this information, but what now? And through that, we realized that we can actually help them. So this product is an app, and it actually links into the telematics on the phone. So it then starts tracking the usual stuff, the braking, the accelerating, the speeding. And then the nice part of it is it actually has built-in training modules. So it's not like, your telematics device where you now capture all this information, you have, the driver's behavior, but now what do you do about it? Because now you need to give it to somebody else, and somebody else needs to now address it with the driver, and then you need to get somebody else to come and train them and make sure that they don't do it again. So in this app, you actually have everything end to end. So they get their little modules in. The manager gets a report, so they can actually see how the drivers are improving. There's a gamification on the app that it actually creates a little bit of competitiveness between the drivers, because they want to be better drivers, because they can see there's a score, and this fellow driver of mine, my fellow mate is actually, he's driving better than me. So that I'm not going to allow that. The gamification comes in, which is really good. And we're getting a lot of traction on that product. And there's development coming down the line on that product, which we are very excited about, because they are looking at bringing in an e-tag where if there's an incident, it will actually trigger an emergency when there's an accident. And then that will come through to us. On the other part of the data is obviously, like, it always goes back to cost. So we encourage our fleet clients to obviously use our network. And the reason we do that is because we have KPIs and controls in place with our network, and we can see the outcome. So we have an average of $350 saving in our network per incident. And we can prove that through our data and the results that we produce. So, and we actually show our clients, if they don't use our network, we actually show them the in and out of network results of why they should be using our network. And it's not just about the cost. It's also about the quality. And it's what, that they know that these repairers have been vetted, and they know that, these repairers have been with us for many years, and that we make sure that they deliver in terms of the outcomes that's expected of them. There's just normal KPIs and SLAs in terms of how do we perform on, picking up phone calls, there's the turnaround times, and we agree all those KPIs and SLAs up front with our clients. And then monthly we report back on that to show them that we are delivering it and that they've got the comfort that things are working. We don't get everything right. Believe me, we get it wrong. We're not perfect. But when it happens, it's important for us to track the complaints, because when we get those complaints, we need to make sure that we fix whatever is wrong, because there's obviously a gap in the process. Something is not working right. We then look at that and we take that feedback and we unpack it, and then we make sure that we close the gap and we feed it back to the client to say, this is what we've done. We realized we dropped the ball there, but it won't happen again because this is how we're fixing it. And I think that's all, that's just all around the data and how it helps us and how it helps our clients in our business.
Question for me, Drew. How should a fleet owner and FMO get in contact with you? What's the process for them to reach out?
We've worked hard on that as well to improve that experience. Today, our clients can actually report a claim through to us in various ways. So we've got a very user-friendly web and mobile solution. So we prefer not to go for an app, because some of our clients have an app. And there's no point in us having an app and they having an app. So we decided to create a QR code. And it was very funny. We were sitting in a presentation yesterday and we were showing a client our QR code. And we said, this is what you're going to do. You're going to take your phone and you're going to put your photo app over it, and it's going to open it up. And we're obviously sitting and we can't see him. And then he says, oh, I've just done it. It works. I was laughing. I was like, yes, it works. So he just did it from sitting in front of the computer on our presentation, and he opened the QR code and you could actually open up to start lodging a claim. So they can submit a claim through that. And we've tried to make it really simple, because you don't want a driver sitting, lodging a whole lot of questions. So we're focusing on, the key things for us to immediately pick up on that claim and that incident, to immediately take an action on it. We then have an outbound call if necessary, if we need some more information, and we'll then capture the rest of the information and then get the driver to the right repairer. And through that, they can also upload the images. So we immediately have the images, or they can access our live video collaboration if they need to. So we've got various ways of how they can do it. It's image upload, image capture, the live video collaboration. And we use the live video collaboration a lot for our assessors as well with our repairers. So what happens is they talk to the repairer and we don't have to go on site. We can do everything through a desktop, and it's fairly easy. Depot managers can also lodge it from their desktop. So if the driver feels like, they don't have time to do it, they speak to their depot managers and they lodge it online. That is how easy it is. And the next step is obviously very key, and that's where our repair management agents step in and they coordinate to make sure that the quote gets done, that it gets assessed, that it gets authorized, and that the repair gets started, and get the driver to drop the vehicle. If there's a tow required, they won't be lodging it then on the app or on the link or on the web. They will actually be phoning us and saying, I'm stuck next to the road. I need a tow. Can you please arrange it for me? Or I have an emergency. And then our agents will immediately make the arrangements to sort it out. They also make arrangements to then make sure that the driver gets a rental vehicle. Sometimes we arrange Ubers, so we do all sorts of things. Or we actually get our repairers to help, drop off and pick up as well. So we because they've got also good relationships with our clients. They understand our client operations. So they're critical, in that process in terms of how they support us to make sure that we run through the process. And the next part of that is at the same time. So once we know if there is somebody that's at fault on the other side, we've got a dedicated team that will then pick up on that information. We've got our own internal skip tracing department with our recoveries department, and we do all of it ourselves. We don't outsource any of that. We only outsource if there's a debt recovery. So when there's a monthly debt that needs to be paid, we outsource that to a provider that manages that monthly debt recovery, or if we need to engage a legal company to do a legal process for us. But we don't do that. And the reason we try and do everything ourselves is to save costs, because the moment you hand it over to any lawyer, then obviously the costs increase. And then through that, we try and recover the monies from the at-fault party. And it's not an easy task, because you basically like a debt recovery agent. So you need specific skills for that. And we have a dedicated team for that. And they have relationships with insurers if we need to recover from insurers. And we average an 85% recovery ratio on the money that we recover back for our clients. I just looked at numbers yesterday on one of our FMO portfolios. We saved them 5.6 million in 1 year through the recovery process that we did against at-fault parties. And that's a lot of money. And then obviously on the third party side, you're going to have third parties that are not at fault. They're unhappy, they're disgruntled, they go through to another team of ours, and we immediately make contact with them. So we actually phone them and we make arrangements for them very similar to the arrangements we make for the driver. So we'll have a discussion with them. Can we get you a rental vehicle because we get preferential rates? Can we get you to one of our repairers because, again, we control that cost? Because in the end, it's going to be an insurer or the client or the self-insured fleet client that needs to pay for that. And we make sure that we contain that cost, and we put it through exactly the same process. We assess it and make sure that we reduce the cost, and we manage that whole process to make sure that there's no increased cost or supplementaries coming through. Yes, and then total losses. Total losses is obviously a big part as well. So when there's a total loss or a large loss, there's a whole process in play there. What was need to be done? You need to get the right cost for the replacement, and we sometimes assist in terms of that whole process to get the replacement vehicle done, to make sure that we get the payout correct and get that process. So it's really important to upfront understand if a vehicle is a total loss or if it's repairable. And through our image capture and our live video, we actually try and determine that fairly quickly, because you don't want a repairer to start doing a whole quote and then at the end of the quote, because that could be, that could take like a week or 2 weeks. At the end of the process, then decide, oh, now it's a total loss. Then after they declared it a total loss, now you have to tow it again. So that means, because now it's got to go to a salvage yard. So now you've towed it twice. So that means you're wasting money. So you're wasting time, you're wasting money. They need to get a new vehicle. They need to get a replacement vehicle. That's key for the fleet manager. So, and that links into some of the new development that we're busy with. So we're busy with some artificial intelligence. So we are working with a global company that we partnered with globally as Innovation Group. And what we're currently doing is we capturing those images in a very specific way. And the reason we're doing that is we're building up a database where the images will start creating, through the artificial intelligence, it will start creating estimates through the damage that you can see on the photographs. Now, I know there's a lot of talk about that in the market, and there's a lot happening around the world. So globally, we've done a lot of work around, looking at what is out there, what is available, and we feel, the solution that we've chosen is the one to go. It's not going to happen overnight. It's a 12-month project, because you need to build up a lot of data to be able to get to a place where you can actually say, you can create an estimate through a photograph. So our first phase on that is to determine, is it repairable or a total loss through that process. And we're busy with that now. We've been 2 months into that project already. The second phase is to identify if it's just cosmetic or is it more than cosmetic, and if it's mechanical. Now, if it's just cosmetic, it's fairly easy, because you literally, it's going to be so easy to say, you know what, this is cosmetic. It's going to be between $0 to $500 or $500 to $1,000 or $1,000 to $1,500. So you're going to very quickly determine that, and you'll be able to tell the fleet manager, this is where it is. Do you want to actually claim for it or not? Or do you actually want to keep the vehicle on the road? Because maybe you don't have to repair it now. You actually keep it, and you only repair it at the next incident that happens, and through that, they can make some more informed decisions about what they want to do with the repairs at that point in time. The third leg of it is we're going to be able to put it into those value bands that I just mentioned. So those value bands will then determine the extent of the damage. And with that, it already starts informing in terms of, where that vehicle needs to go. Because if it's a very large, complex repair, you want to go for it to go to a specific repairer that's able to do that. And you want to actually also be able to tell the repairer, you know what, there's a big repair coming. Do you actually have capacity for that? Or should we rather just wait, or give it to somebody else? And then the last piece of that is actually to get down to the granular data. So we can actually now start building it down on part level. But I mean, that's a long process, and that's why I'm saying it's going to take 12 months, and it's going to take a lot of work in terms of the data we need to collect, potentially engaging the OEs to get some data from them. There are some other companies out there that have got parts data. So it's putting that all together and starting to create a solution. But I do believe that's the future. I do believe that's where we need to go. We need to move away from the current traditional assessing methods that we have. My technical assessors need to be used for the outliers, for the complex claims, for the large losses, for the heavy trucks, not for the sort of like the cosmetic ones. That we can use that technology really effective. I know there's some solutions out there where companies are saying that they can do they can source quotes. I don't think that is the ultimate solution in sourcing different quotes and then just working on the cheapest quote, because repairers pick up on that, and then they always find loopholes in terms of how to work around that to get the cheapest quote, because you might get the cheapest quote up front, But then once they start doing the work, then they start adding onto it with supplementaries, because they then start inflating that cost. And then if you do the analysis at the end, you might realize, but actually it's costing me more. I might have chosen the cheapest quote, but it's actually costing me more in the end. Because repairers realize if they get the cheapest quote, they're going to get the job. So I think the future of this tech is really important, and that's where the industry is moving towards. So we're really excited about that.
And Drew, are you seeing with the decision whether you write off or whether you retain a vehicle and repair it, has that changed because of the supply issues with new cars and also the increase in residual values? Like a car that may have been written off 2 years ago is potentially getting repaired to be put back on the road? I
think there are various factors, and it's definitely at the moment in terms of part supply, it's becoming a problem. I think we are going to get into a position. We've just done a write-up, which we will be circulating to our clients about, what is happening. So it's causing a problem in getting vehicles repaired. We're struggling to get vehicles booked in because we are waiting for parts at the moment. And that's concerning for us, because it's just going to delay that whole process, and it's going to make it very difficult to keep vehicles on the road. So you're going to have to take a look at it and decide, especially when it's on a borderline, are you going to repair it or not, or are you just going to write it off? Because it would be easier for you just to buy another vehicle. And I think that's where some of the decisions are sitting at the moment. But then, there's also an opportunity. How do we use, so some of our self-insured clients are looking at, how do I use some of those, especially when it comes to trucks, how do I just use the cab, because there's nothing wrong with that cab, and, I can actually use it for on another vehicle. So that's where we work very closely with some of our clients. And that's, my assessing manager and my assessors and my network repair manager with the repairers, we try and work closely with our clients in terms of taking those decisions. So it is becoming more and more difficult.
So Drew, if you've got a potential new customer, if they're interested to get hold of you to have your service, how do they do that?
They speak to me. I have a sales team, but make myself available. And I have and I put my mobile number, and my email address is everywhere. It's on LinkedIn, it's on Facebook, and I can give it to you. It's very easy. It's exactly like you see it on the screen. So it's drew.schneeger@innovation.group. And my mobile number is also very easy. It's 0499 599 829. So you can send me a message on LinkedIn. I'm very active on it, or send me a message on Facebook. I'm also very active on it, or just or phone me. And if I don't answer, I will send you a message that I'm in a meeting, and I will phone you back afterwards. I'm very contactable.
Drew, apologies if I look like a stunned mullet. You are just so impressive with what you've covered off. And this is only just half of the story, because this is only the fleet story.
Yes.
What you do with FMO, sorry, with the OEMs is another whole podcast.
Yes, it is.
This is phenomenal. So I'll try to do justice to summarising what we just covered. In summary, so your background, 20 plus years in the industry, but you started
years.
in insurance.
32 years.
32. I was doing the 20 plus, so 32 years in the industry. And insurance back to front, from what you've covered is an incredible journey. But one thing that really comes through for me, and you mentioned early, it's about being people-focused, being very passionate about what you do, and engaging, listening to clients, and then working on solving their problems. And the critical part is that it's listening and then solving their problems. And when we look at the problems that you do solve, they're significant ones, but we kind of take them for granted. We know that there's accidents happen. It's a fact of life. And the issue is that no one plans for the accident, but when they do happen, it's like, well, what do I do now? And most people don't know. So the solution that you provide, especially in the fleet space, which is very complicated because you've got a whole different number of drivers driving a whole heap of different vehicles, and you want to have some sort of process, and you want to have some peace of mind, but also you want to control cost. You want to have a quick turnaround. You want to recover money from the people that are at fault, but you also want to protect yourself from others that are trying to claim on you. So they're the services that you provide. So when you look at, if I'm a fleet customer, I really should be talking to you to get an effective management of that process. Because when you look at the taking control of the driver is the significant problem that you solve for the FMO or for the fleet client themselves or even the broker. So data is king. You provide them information, and a lot of them are not aware of what those accidents actually cost and where the behavioural issues are with the accidents. So you've developed an app that has a mentoring program, a training program in it as well, whereby you can speak with data, you can show what is actually happening with their accidents and their repairs, what are the reasons for those accidents, what is there a trend, and how are you improving that? But you can physically show the cost savings. And you outlined there was a client that you physically showed it's $350 per incident that you're saving them, and you're actually saving them millions per year, especially in the FMO space and the larger fleets. So you're saving them money, but on the flip side, it's not just about the money, it's about the people. You actually also then go back to the other bogey that all fleet managers live with is there's the financial bottom line, but there's the OH&S and safety bottom line. So you actually address that. Your data does the 360 and goes back to show them that, right, this is what is happening. These are the behaviours we need to change to keep your people safe. And by the way, we'll also make sure that the people that repair these vehicles are validated, because you've got an entire team that goes about making sure you select the appropriate and quality repairers, to the point you even go down to the level of, well, we make sure they use PPG paint because these are the standards that we expect, and we don't accept anything less than that. So you 360 degree the quality, but you also take those suppliers. It's not about screwing them down on price only. It's like, how can we help you? And you integrate your systems with them to overcome their problems of, I've got to deal with this paint supplier system and this insurance company system. You simplify that with the data integration. So you're fixing problems for a whole heap of different people here. And ultimately it comes down to, because you're fixing the fleet customer, who is the driver, you're fixing them first. And then the whole thing then cascades down with that process. So it makes sense. So if I'm a fleet operative or FMO, and I want to save money, but also make sure I look after people's interests and personal safety and processes, it makes sense for them to engage with you. And if I'm a repairer, I want to make sure I'm working with you, because you're going to help me improve my business, because you target mainly owner-operator businesses. So it's definitely a plus for them to actually actively engage with you and work with you to help grow their businesses, because it ultimately lifts their standards, lifts the standards of vehicles on the road, makes everybody safer, and actually saves money and improves efficiencies. And then you continue with the theme of innovation, the name of your business. You continue to innovate with systems like using AI to determine what an accident repair is and what the costs are, and whether you repair or do you scrap the vehicle. And that time that another feature that I really thought was fantastic with your systems and processes, you save so much time off-road. It's that time off-road that actually costs money that most people forget, because then there's the rental costs and the other associated costs of inconvenience and downtime that you're saving as well. And the last thing I thought was interesting, because you have so much strong data, and you highlighted that, well, you can actually show what's happening with a customer's fleet and benchmark them to other customers. There's the gamification that you can do for the drivers. They can benchmark themselves against other drivers. But then you can speak on a macro level and say, well, this is what we're seeing. COVID has meant that the rental business is down. There's less crashes for novated lease drivers. But by the way, couriers are up because they're delivering things and they're getting knocked around a bit. So you cover so many things. And Drew, thank you so much for sharing that today. And hopefully I've done justice to summarize just this fleet part of your business. We've got another podcast where we'll talk about what you do for the automotive manufacturers and distributors, because that's another story. So this is a pretty big story in itself. And I thank you.
No, thank you. I really appreciate it. I love this session because I could actually tell our story, because I don't think, some of our clients realize what we do for them every single day. I don't think they understand it. It's big what we do, and I think we do a really good job at it. So no, thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. It's good to chat to you guys.
Yeah, Drew, thanks very much. I was totally blown away by that, because the depth of service is amazing, because often you get different segments of service, but you cover everything. The only part you don't cover is this buying of vehicles and parts. So if you added that on...
Well, actually,
I'm sure Drew will do that.
It's really interesting. In Germany, we actually do have a parts company where we actually do coordinate the parts buy. So we've just never expanded it into the rest of the world. But we'll potentially look at that in the future, but it's a little bit down the line, because we've got a new platform coming, which we just launched in Germany, and that will facilitate that. So yeah, there's a lot of exciting things that's going to happen at Innovation Group into the future. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. We are the only third-party administrator that do everything end to end without outsourcing anything in this market.
I'm blown away by your passion and energy, Drew. It is so refreshing to see someone who is across so much of the business. So you know that it's the repairers, you've got them sorted, but you know that if you don't have them on side, the quality of the repairs won't be good. Your customers will be upset. They'll be pushed to the back of the queue from a repair perspective, because they'll repair other people's cars ahead of your cars. So it's all those elements. It's those little 1%ers that come together to create the solution. And then there's the forward planning already that, if we're getting this bit right, it's the what's next. And that's what the what's next is going to be even more exciting. And even just getting your teams to, your assessors, don't get them bogged down in the small stuff. Let's deal with the outliers, because we can use this technology, will save us time and get more efficient here, but then we can really do good service with these really tricky cases that we need to deep dive, because maybe we haven't been able to deep dive enough into those because we're dealing with all this other noise. And it's amazing. It
is. No, I get very passionate about what I do. So I'm glad it came through.
Thank you for listening. Hopefully you got as much out of the discussion with Drew as we did. A lot to learn about the Innovation Group, and they do a lot of incredible things to save time and money in the fleet space.
If you'd like to know more, subscribe to our channel below, or you can like us and follow us on LinkedIn, or you can visit our site on Patreon, or the home of Talking Automotive at autocurrents.com.
Thank you for listening, and we will see you soon.